Well, good morning everyone. I think it's about 10 o'clock, so we'll make a start. Welcome to our Cabinet meeting this morning on Tuesday, 6th of June. Hopefully people have all the necessary papers in front of you, just to say that we're not anticipating a fire alarm, so if the fire alarm does go off, that we will need to evacuate the building, and the signs, please follow those. So we will make a start, if that's okay. So before we get on to business as per the agenda, we do have an urgent item of business that we've been asked to take, so I'll just make a statement in respect of that. And that is that in accordance with the Local Government Act 1972, I'm proposing that we take an urgent item of business this morning, and that is in relation to the Armed Forces Community Covenant. And this decision is urgent and cannot reasonably be deferred, as there is a need to sign this covenant and report this to the meeting of full council, which will be taking place on the 15th of June. At this meeting, the MOD will be in attendance for the signing of the covenant. The reason for urgency means that there's not sufficient time to allow the publication of reports, the 5 clear days that would normally be required before this Cabinet meeting. So I'm therefore proposing that we take that urgent item. So do I second for that? As well. So we'll deal with that item as item 12 on our agenda today, so we'll put that towards the end, and this will be published on our website immediately after the meeting. Okay, thank you. So move on to the formal agenda for this morning. The first item is apologies for absence, and we have had apologies this morning from Councillor Charles Archbold and Councillor Andrew Jarvis. So I'm not aware of any other apologies. Okay. So looking at our agenda this morning, does anyone have any declarations of interest? No? Okay. So we don't have any part 2 items on our agenda today, so we don't need to seek an exclusion of press and the public. So we come to item 4, which is the minutes of the previous meeting. So again, those have been circulated. That was on 24th of April. So I'm happy to propose those minutes. Do I have a seconder? Okay, thank you, Councillor Bell. So any questions or matters from them? No. Okay, so all those are happy to accept those minutes. Would you please show? Thank you very much. So we arrive at item 5, which is public participation, and I believe that we do have some public participation this morning. So this is Mr. Jonathan Davis, Chair of the Clifton Community Council. So if you wish to come forward, if you have a question.
Good morning, thank you. Clifton Community Council have over the last 4 years worked with the former Eden District Council to progress the evolution of assets in the Clifton community. This includes various small parcels of land and the Clifton Children's Play Area. The only actual devolution to have occurred is that street lighting forced on many parish councils in the Eden area, with the threat of losing street lighting in the areas if the assets were not taken on by parish councils. Eden Council had agreed to devolution of assets in 2021, however days before the agreed date to make the transfer of the Clifton Community Council was informed that the transfer would not take place due to staff having left the council. Eden Council then placed a hold on asset transfer as it was reviewing its policy. This was then further stalled by the local government reorganisation process. Clifton Community Council, and we know that the town and parish councils are keen to see devolution of assets important to our respective communities take place. Clifton has plans to redevelop the play park into a space that is fit for purpose and can also enhance the offer and usage by the village, school and others in the community, including a running track, new play equipment, along with measures to level up the land and create off-road parking around the perimeter with electric charge points to address parking issues in the community, especially around school pick-up and drop-off times that create dangerous road conditions for all. Clifton Community Council has in the last 3 weeks been informed by an officer of this council that at this time Westmorland and Furness Council has no devolution policy in place, and as a result, devolution will likely not take place for some time. Can the leader address the reason for no devolution policy, given that in other areas of council business, policy of former councils have been mirrored and used to enable Westmorland and Furness Council's function? Does the leader agree that devolution is an important issue that needs addressed with those town and parish councils like Clifton Community Council who wish to take on assets and deliver beneficial improvements for our communities?
So thank you very much for your question. A response has been prepared by officers, so I'll read that, but before I do that, I'd just like to say that as the New Western Furness Council, we are keen to work with parish councils, and you'll see around the room at the back our values there, one of which is collaborative, and we do seek to work collaboratively with councils, and I've certainly made it one of my tasks to try and get around as many parish councils as I can, and certainly talk with CALC on a regular basis, so I look forward to working with you in the future. So the prepared response is that thank you for your question, and I acknowledge that Community Council have been seeking a response to this question for some time. Whilst we're going through the local government reform process, you will understand that has been and continues to be a significant undertaking. So I'd like to provide you with an assurance at this point that Westmorland and Furness Council is committed to supporting communities, and it's reflected in our council plan, and we highlight having confident, empowered and resilient communities as a key priority. Whilst we're still developing this overall approach and are intending to work closely with communities and partner organisations, one of the significant elements will include exploring potential devolution of some services and assets to local communities, particularly town and parish councils, where this can make a difference, can make a significant contribution to enabling them to be stronger, more resilient and sustainable. So a key strand that is going to take us on this journey is the development of a community asset transfer policy, which involves transferring of ownership of land and buildings from the local authority to a fit and proper community organisation in order to achieve a range of benefits and meet the council's priorities and desired outcomes. So Westmorland and Furness have adopted an interim community asset transfer policy, but we're reviewing this in the light of our own council plan priorities, and we'll be considering how our new Westmorland and Furness asset transfer policy that will be coming forward in September. The application of this policy may be triggered either by external requests from organisations such as yours, or through identification by a service of the council that an asset is declared surplus to requirements. So following your request, Clifton Parish Council, one of our community development officers will now act as a single point of contact and work with you, put forward a formal expression of interest to the council, and once the community asset transfer policy has been approved by Cabinet. So we will have a dedicated officer, we will be working with you, and hopefully we can come to a mutually acceptable arrangement in respect of the assets that you are talking about. Thank you.
Thank you. Can I ask a supplementary on the devolution?
Just ask. Yes, okay, well go on, yes.
Yeah, one of the things that, as we alluded in the first question, that we have had devolved is street lighting, which contract was entered with the Eden Council for maintenance on that. We've had no formal notification of the transfer of that contract to Westmorland and Furness for maintenance and support on the lights, and we've had an ongoing issue with one light that we've not been able to get reconnected because of that for the last 6 months from the Eden Council and now with Westmorland and Furness. So we'd like some form of a reassurance from the council that that support and maintenance contract street lights is.
Okay, I'm sure we can provide an answer. Will that be a written
Yeah,
answer?
we'll get you a written answer.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Chairman, may I just say that as the board member representative, I'm very keen to work with Clifton Parish Council and designated officer you referred to, helping to expedite any legitimate aims of the
Okay, thank you very much. So, was another potential item, but is that those folk are not?
No, they're not attended.
Okay, thank you very much. So, in that case, we move to item 6, which is statements from leader and cabinet member. I just, in terms of a statement, just wish to reiterate once again my thanks to, particularly to officers who continue to work over and above the call of duty in respect of the arrangements that we're still seeking to put in place in terms of the new authority and how that's going to work. And I know, for example, I was receiving emails late into last night just indicating that officers are certainly working all hours in some cases to ensure that we do move forward. So again, thank you to officers. I do recognise significant efforts that continue to be made to enable this council to move forward in a smooth manner. And in terms of a more detailed statement, perhaps I understand Councillor Sue Sanderson, you wish to make a statement at this point.
I wanted to make this statement about foster carers. It is a little late, but it's the only opportunity I'll have to do so. At the start of Foster Care Fortnight, which was starting on the 15th of May, Cumbria Fostering Service, which works on behalf of Cumberland Council and Westmorland and Furness Council, launched an appeal for more foster carers to help keep children in their local communities. Despite already supporting a community of more than 275 foster carers across the county, with more than 725 children in care, Cumbria Fostering urgently needs more local people to come forward as foster carers to prevent vulnerable children being placed with families away from their local area or separated from siblings. Care leaver Corey Love, aged 23 from Barrow, is backing the campaign. He said, young people coming into care have been through so much. My foster carers gave me the space I needed to deal with it all. But the one thing they did above all else was just to listen to me and help me to understand what I was feeling and why. Foster Care Fortnight gave us the opportunity to acknowledge the amazing contribution made by our community of foster carers and to say thank you for everything they do to keep Cumbrian children safe and supported. As part of the appeal, a group of foster carers, children, council staff and several dogs walked around Barrow Park in lovely weather, completing a 5k walk, which was 2.5 times around Barrow Park, with double ice cream, which were wonderful. We want to make sure that our children can stay with foster families local to the communities with which they are familiar. This minimises further disruption to their lives by helping them stay in their school, close to their friends, and maintaining connections with other family members. If you think you have a space in your home and your heart and the skills needed to help children thrive and reach their potential, please get in touch and put But it was really an opportunity to say thank you to everyone who contributed that, and anyone that you know might be interested to raise it with them. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor. So, do we have any other cabinet members wishing to say? Okay. So, item 7, referrals from council or scrutiny committees. I understand there's none coming forward today. Item 8 is questions to cabinet members. So, to receive any questions from Westmorland and Furness councillors. So, I don't know, do we have any questions this morning? Doesn't look like it. Okay, very much. So, we will move to item 9. And this is the investment in council plan priorities. And in the absence of Councillor Jarvis, I will table this item. So, this is a significant item in the life of the new council. It's outlined for us on page 17 of the report, and this report sets out 14 different projects that Cabinet have been asked to approve for investment this morning, and each of those supports the delivery of our council plan priorities. The ones before us today have a total value of just short of £4.5 million. Westmorland and Furness Council Plan, which we've referred to several times already this morning, was approved in December of last year, and it sets out our long-term vision and priorities for the council. And listed in there are 7 priorities, and they form a framework that the council will seek to work towards. So that covers people, supporting active, healthy and happy lives beyond the norm, supporting people in need and reducing inequality, for climate, where we provide leadership and drive to become carbon net zero, for our communities, as again mentioned already, they are enabled to become confident, empowered and resilient, for economy and culture, that we have a sustainable and inclusive economic growth right across our broad footprint in respect of customers and people who access services, that they are the heart of everything we do, and in respect of our workforce, that is enabled to be confident, empowered and inclusive. And again, we've had reference to a couple of occasions already where our workforce is being recognised for the hard work that they are doing. So, in approving the 23-24 revenue budget, which we did in March of this year, full council supported the investment of up to £5 million to deliver on our council plan priorities. And this report that we have before us today summarises the individual projects that we will be investing into at this point, and they include devolved funding for locality boards. And I think that is important. We have said that as a council that we do want to provide the opportunity for local communities to be as involved as they can with the council. We've set up the locality boards, and this morning is an example of us actively providing the locality boards with funding to enable them to make local decisions. We're also looking at biodiversity, nature, sustainable transport, social care, children, culture and education, and all of those projects that we're listing here will be delivered before the end of this financial year. So this is an allocation of funding which is intended for the immediate delivery of services. So as the new unitary council, we want to make a real difference, and we want local people to see that difference and feel as quickly as possible the change that Westmorland and Furness will bring. And with this investment, we're supporting projects that we we have, as I've said before, a great opportunity to do things differently and improve services, and that's what we intend to do. But at the same time, we are realistic about how complex this task of transformation of local government is and how long it may take. And that's why we're keen to bring forward a package of investments at this point, because some of the changes that we intend to make will be very much over the longer term, and it may be some of those changes won't be able to take effect for a significant time, but we are keen that people do see change in the short term as well. So this funding package will allow accelerated change in certain areas, and we believe that this package of investments very much reflect the issues that local people have told us are important to them. So a key element, as I've said, this investment is increasing devolved budgets of 1.2 million to locality boards, and just short of £1 million, 900,000 is being devolved to support the development of local sustainable travel and transport schemes, and that includes footpaths and rights of way, cycling, school, streets and community transport. And I do know how important that is sustainable, local transport, very important. I had a recent visit to Ullswater Community College, and they very much made me reiterated the need for transport for younger people and how important that is in a particularly rural area such as that. So just short of, or around £300,000 has been devolved also as flexible funding to allow locality boards to support priority investments in communities and make a real and visible difference to the quality of life in local areas. This reflects the recommendations of our Corporate Overview and Scrutiny Committee when they responded to our draft budget for 23 and 24 in February. So again, process within the Council of Overview and Scrutiny, and as a leadership cabinet we are keen to hear what members have to say, and that's one way that members are enabled to do that, and we take them on board. So finally, there is a recommendation, and you'll see the recommendations there set before us in section 2. There's a number of them. That we continue with an individual members scheme, and this carries forward from one that was in place with South Lake District Council. It's proposed that this is extended to all members of Westmorland and Furness Council, and that is £1,000 funding per member that be used or can be used by each individual member to support community groups, community activities in their wards to help purchase things like equipment, to hold events or run services that will be of benefit to local residents. And that funding can be used in combination with money from other organisations, so match funding, to contribute to larger projects. And hopefully again, that is an example of this council demonstrating that really it is, we seek to support grassroots initiatives in as flexible a way as we can. So the appropriate governance, declarations of conflict of interest, and regular reporting of this spend will ensure that value for money is achieved and that that funding is transparent. So this is the first stage of our wider change programme. As I mentioned, it provides the opportunity to drive improvements in investment to deliver our priorities ahead of the much larger transformation programme that will deliver significant change in the longer term. So, the recommendations are before us at section 2. There, I won't read them all out. Essentially, I think I've covered those off. I'm happy to propose those recommendations, do I have a second for that, Councillor Bell? Thank you. So, do you wish to speak or?
Yes, please. I'm especially pleased to see the 3 projects for adult social care and public health. The equipment fast track, that's absolutely brilliant. Tomorrow I'm off to look at the equipment store to see what else we can do and how we can work differently, because I think there's huge potential there. But this is a step in the right direction. The virtual care pilot programme, hopefully this will lead us, give us more confidence to do more of this stuff. I think there's huge things we can do by way of telecare and using IT to help people to live more independent lives. And thirdly, for a relatively small amount of money, this trauma-informed practice development programme, I think has huge potential to bring about really positive changes for many people. So, thank you.
Thank you. Any other members? Yes, so, Councillor Thorpe.
Thanks, Chair. I particularly welcome the individual members' £1,000 allocation. Having used this in South Lakeland, I think the essence of it is it's really simple. Providing the request meets the criteria, it's virtually automatically granted, and it then is published to make it transparent, and the councillor basically takes responsibility for that public money. So it means that, for example, I was at a residents' meeting about 6 months ago, and it became apparent they needed some money for the planting of trees in the local wildlife area. And I was able to say to them, okay, I think that meets our criteria of our council plan, and I can get you that money. And it didn't have to go through a process, it didn't have to go through a board or a panel or anything. It's really simple. And it's open to every single member, about 65 members. And it just gives members that ability to do things without going through a complicated process. So I absolutely welcome that, Chair. And I hope it'll, I'm sure we'll see lots of flowering of schemes across the whole area, across our whole district of Westmorland and Furness.
Okay, thank you. So, yeah, Councillor Hughes.
I'm also delighted to support the recommendations, Chair, and to echo some of your views about the urgency of our new council attempting to improve transport links for residents right across our area, but notably in the more isolated rural areas. And I'll say a little more about the £900,000 active sustainable travel grant when we come to the strategic highways and transport board. But just right now I wanted to talk about the young people's travel bursary and the proposed extension of the A to B young people's travel card, which we're, as you said, we're agreeing as part of the recommendations. It's been a requirement, a legal requirement for some years, that young people between the ages of 16 and 18 are either in work or in training or in continuing education. Pleas have gone out from local government that councils are accordingly reimbursed by central government for this to provide the necessary transport, particularly in rural areas. These pleas have not yet been fulfilled. However, I felt as a portfolio holder for transport, we were constrained as a council to at least make some attempt to meet the needs of young people struggling with this situation. So opportunities are opened up to them to further their careers, but they're often frustrated by the lack of appropriate transport. So we've put this £500,000 bursary in. I'm sure, echoing Councillor Thornton, there will be plenty of requests going forward. And secondly, the A to B card, which South Lakeland Local Committee of the former County Council did managed to find funding for out of its annual budget to provide reduced price off-peak travel for young people. The other two local committees didn't find an apparent need for to support that scheme. But now, as a new council, we want equal treatment of young people across the area, and so that provision will now be there. In terms of rail, I made a statement about the poor performance of our rail services at full council recently. So there's nothing deep about rail in this report, so I won't say anything out. But the ambition is clearly to work with government, Transport North, and any other interested body to radically improve the poor level of public transport that we have right across our area.
Thank you. So, Councillor Taylor.
Thank you. So I'd just like to follow on from Councillor Hughes just to say really how delighted I am to see that the Youth Education Training Travel Bursary is continuing for exactly the reasons that Councillor Hughes pointed out. Young people are required by law to be in education from 16 to 18, but they are not given support to actually get there. And in areas where there is no public transport, and it's complicated how they can access the transport given to other students who are entitled to it, and particularly I draw attention to the situation for young people in Alston, where there is no sixth form in their school. Therefore, they are legally required to do something which they have no actual means to achieve, which is scarcely a fair situation for them. We did have it, Councillor Hughes pointed out, a previous council, so we did start this scheme particularly because of the plight of the students in Alston, but also elsewhere in a sparsely populated area where there are limited access to 16 to 18 education and almost no choice if we wish our students and our young people to develop their careers as well as they can, as best they can, then we have to enable them to access education and with luck the education that is their chosen métier. I'm delighted to see this continued and indeed extended across the whole of Westmorland and Furness, because there are other students in other places for whom this will be a benefit. So thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Councillor. Councillor Jones.
Very pleased to see the two items on the priority scheme that will support climate action and boost biodiversity across the footprint of Westmorland and Furness. This is something that former councils have actively supported in the past, and I'm really delighted to see this legacy is now one of our council priorities going forward. We know that communities make a real difference to how we deliver our aspirations, and this is going to be a great start to being proactive and responsible around these two important challenges which impact us all. So thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Derbyshire.
Yesterday I sat and watched a webinar by Citizens Advice Bureau. They're doing one on a monthly basis on the cost of living crisis. It's all the data they're getting from all different organisations. I'm putting it together to show the situation, and it was showing that a lot of households are struggling more and more. Also, who are not used to struggling are now struggling. People who are struggling to pay mortgages, etc. So I'm very glad that we have 500,000 in to help organisations like Citizens Advice Bureau help people who are needing more and more advice on how to approach their debts, how to get more benefits, accessing food banks and things like that. So I welcome the fact that we've got this 500,000 in. I know Westmorland and Furness staff have been working hard to pull together all the information on what all the county council and all the district councils have been doing, all the money that we've got in the budgets, but then to look at where the gaps are and where organisations are needing more support, and also to at things like the household support funding, which is going from the government, what gaps that was going to fill, but also what other gaps were still needing filling. So this is what they've produced, a long list of all the things that they hope to do with this money, basically to get out and help people. So yeah, I'm very glad that we've got that in there. I'm also glad we've got the supporting people funding in there, supporting families funding, because quite often the young families who are struggling at the moment, and child poverty is becoming more and more of an issue in our area.
Okay, thank you. So thank you, Karen, for your comments and support. So it's been proposed and seconded that we accept these recommendations. All those in favour, please indicate. So very much unanimous. Thank you very much. So thank you for that. The next item is item 10, and this is in relation to the Penrith Business Improvement District ballot, June 2023. So I will make some comments in relation to this item, and I think I would say right at the outset that as a council we are keen to support business improvement districts, and we have them right across our area. However, in relation to the Penrith Business Improvement District, this was originally established, I understand, in 2013, ran for a 5-year period until 2017. A renewal ballot took place in November 2017, confirming a second term of 5 years, and that term of 5 years ran until 31st of March of this year. So, a renewal ballot for a third term then took place on the 30th of November 2022, and Eden District Council cabinet members voted yes in respect to the council's properties. However, the ballot was not successful, as although the majority of businesses voted yes, positive votes did not represent more than 50% of the rateable value of votes cast. So, Penrith Improvement District have proposed another ballot, and that's to take place on the 28th of June. And if that is not successful, then they are not proposing any future ballots. So, future literally hangs in the balance on the 28th of June. So, as a non-domestic rate payer within Penrith Business Improvement District, the council is entitled to vote at the upcoming ballot on the 28th of June 2023, and this report that we have before us provides information to support members in their decision to use the council's voting entitlement in the renewal ballot. And just to reiterate that this council certainly recognises the important work that bids do in helping to maintain the vibrancy and sustainability of our town centres, and as such I'm happy to move those recommendations for us in section 2, that cabinet members agree to use the council's voting allocation in favour of a third term of Penrith bid, that chief legal and monitoring officer is authorised to complete the ballot papers accordingly with a yes vote and submit them by the end of the ballot period on the 28th of June 2023. There is an additional recommendation which is 2.3, that the Chief Legal and Monitoring Officer is authorised to enter into a new operating agreement with the bid if the ballot is successful for a term of 5 years. So hopefully that is clear. I'm happy to propose those recommendations with that additional recommendation. Our seconder.
I'd like to second it, I'd also like to.
Okay, would you like to speak now?
Yes, so I'd just like to support the bid. I mean, as a Penrith resident for some time, the bid provides, as it were, visible benefits for the town in terms of street scene and planting and lights, and supports activities in the town. I know that they have mutual support, particularly for the small and independent businesses in the town, and I think if anybody reads the report, will see that the overwhelming number of businesses in the town did vote to support they support, represent, and the mosaic of smaller businesses which makes up Penrith town, which is mostly smaller and independent retailers, and also, of course, restaurants and other businesses. Additionally, you know, the bid makes really well balanced contributions to the meetings there are of the various interest groups in Penrith. So these interest groups bring their own interests, and the bid offers a balanced view of offering a kind of collective view on behalf of its members. I think this organisation will be very much missed on all levels.
Okay, thank you. So, Councillor.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I support this as well. I mean, the problem, I believe, is that some of the large national organisations have a position of being neutral on this. And being neutral is almost a vote against, because if too many people are neutral, it fails, even though the majority of people vote for it. So it's really important that we do vote for it. Just a question on the extra recommendation about the agreement. We have two relationships with the bid, I think. We have a relationship where we're a participant and a ratepayer, but we also have a relationship where we're a council and a provider of some of the services the bid might want to negotiate. Is it the second one that this agreement's about?
Yes, it is, yeah, review. So the operating arrangements in effect, yeah, and how we oversee the activities.
Yeah, that's fine. Thank you, Chair.
So, anyone else has questions? No. So we have the recommendations plus the additional recommendation of all those in favour. Would they indicate? Okay, again, thank you. That is clearly carried. So we come to item 11, which is Better Care Fund submission. So, Councillor Bell, lead us through this.
Yes, thank you. The paper is asking you to support the recommendations set out on page 73 and 74. That just to provide some background. Since 2015, the Better Care Fund has been a pooled fund arrangement between the NHS and local authority partners that's designed to incentivise integrated delivery of health and social care. The Better Care Fund has evolved over that period and is now a collection of different grants to achieve core objectives. The core objectives are identified in the National Policy Planning from 2023 to 25 are to enable people to stay well, safe and independent at home for longer, and provide people with the right care at the right place at the right time. The focus to achieve these objectives is on supporting hospital discharges, admission avoidance, promoting independence, keeping people out of long-term residential provision for longer and supporting unpaid carers. There is a requirement that the local health and care systems submit their plan to NHS England Better Care Fund team by the 28th of June. This plan must be jointly agreed between local health and social care commissioners, and it's signed off by the Health and Wellbeing Board. So I'm recommending to Cabinet that we accept the recommendations.
Okay, thank you. So, do we have a seconder for that? Councillor Derbyshire, do you wish to questions at this point? So, any comments, observations? Doesn't look like it. So, these recommendations, say, are outlined there, being proposed and seconded. Are we all happy to agree those? Yeah. Okay. So, we come to our extra item 12. So this is the urgent item on the community covenant. So have members been circulated with the offer paper? Okay, thank you. So just to say by way of introduction that my leaders meet, at the council meeting in May, I will answer the question in relation to this matter raised by fellow councillor as to whether Westmorland and Furness Council would indeed be signing the Armed Forces Covenant, and I confirmed that we would be seeking to do this at the earliest opportunity. So, following that up, I'm pleased to say that the Ministry of Defence will be attending our council meeting on 15th of June, and following consideration of a report on the Armed Forces Community Covenant and our draft work programme, I will be asking Council to endorse that when we sign that covenant. Now, all of the sovereign district council and county council have previously, way back in 2013, signed the Armed Forces Covenant, and a great deal of work has been undertaken across Cumbria since that time, and we therefore seek to reaffirm our commitment by signing the covenant as Westmorland and Furness Council, and we thereby showing the armed forces families, including serving personnel, veterans, reservists, war widowers, are valued members of our communities. So we will be working with our partner organisations to ensure that we support our armed service families across the delivery of all our services. We'll also support our veterans and their families transition and adjust from armed forces to civilian life. To do this, we need our own Westmorland and Furness Armed Forces Board with key partners to work together to reshape our offer to our armed forces families, and I will request that Cabinet receives updates on the work programme and progress in this matter. As with others, we are ambitious in our plans for the future. We will continue to be part of the Cumbria Armed Forces Partnership and work in collaboration with the new Unitary Authority of Cumberland and our partners to achieve these objectives. I'll also be asking our lead officer and our armed forces champions appointed by each of the locality boards to ensure that we meet our duties under the Armed Forces Act 2021 as we work with partners in the NHS and the primary and secondary care, as we support people with housing, education, health care services. We must ensure that we pay due regard to the principles of the covenant as we deliver certain of those key functions. And I'm pleased to see such early progress in the signing of the covenant, and we seek to see Westmorland and Furness Council as an exemplar council in supporting our armed forces families who have continued to sacrifice so much on behalf of us all in this country. So with that, I'm happy to move the recommendations. I would ask for a seconder, Councillor Bell, to use a second. So any questions or comments on this matter? Councillor Hughes.
Yes, I fully endorse the recommendation. And part of the function of armed forces coming to wherever they exist amongst those who comprise their partners is, as you already hit, is to reach out to those who, through their experiences in the armed forces, have suffered post-traumatic stress disorder or similar adverse health conditions, mental health conditions, and these have led, unfortunately, to a disproportionately high representation of those who have been in the armed forces amongst those who are homeless and receiving help for mental health So I think we all believe that we owe it to all our residents to try to ensure that they have as successful and contented lives as possible. Therefore, it's absolutely right that we, Westmorland and Furness, were part of this process, and that we work with partners, including the NHS, to make some of these things happen.
Very good. So I don't see any other people wishing to speak. So again, it's been proposed and seconded to accept so that draws us to a time of conclusion. So thank you all very much.